First time when I started in foster care was when I was 5.
I entered foster care at the age of 8.
I came in foster care when I was about 10 years old.
I was 7 when I first got into foster care.
I came into foster care when I was 9 and now I'm 14. So I've been in foster care for almost 5 years.
About 11 to 12 years now.
I've been in foster care for 8 years.
We got taken away because my mom left us home alone, and I cut myself really bad and had to go to the hospital. So that's how they found out.
I didn't understand why I was taken from my mother, but after a while I did tell the truth about what my mother did.
Right after she passed away, I thought, there's no one else, and I'm completely alone now.
I've been in, I believe, 5 foster homes, like 7 different placements, like shelters and stuff.
I've been to almost 20 different group homes and foster homes in the past 10 years.
Okay, I had bounced from 4 different placements in 2 weeks.
I was placed with my sister in the home. We both were taken at the same time. Our brothers were split up.
It's been real difficult because I miss my family and stuff.
I was 10 when I moved back with my mother. It never worked out, so I started going back to group homes.
It's hard because people don't really understand what foster care is about, and they're not experiencing it themselves, so they're not sure what you're going through. So the first judgment is usually she did something wrong, or she's been bad or something like that. But it's not that at all. Foster care is for kids whose parents can't take care of them, or they can't be in the home because it's not safe.
I kind of wanted to run away at first. I didn't know where. I mean, not necessarily physically, but just kind of give up.
I was kind of scared at first because I didn't know what love was.
I don't have a lot of friends in school because I move around so much. In the past year, I have been to like 4 different schools actually, and I can't stay in one position, so it's hard because if I meet a group of friends and I become friends with them, then I leave and then I won't see them again, or they won't have contact with me because of me leaving. And so I try to make friends, but it's not that easy being in foster care.
The thing that makes me scared is when I feel like somebody says they love me and stuff. I'm thinking, love is like when they're gonna throw me to the side again and just they don't want me anymore.
Like I said, it's been tough. It's been really, really tough. I don't see my siblings very often, and I'm not allowed to call them.
I hate it because it's like you always have, I feel like you should always have a suitcase packed, like a Mercy suitcase, like that's how often a lot of kids move. Like, yeah, we should be put in one place and staying at one place because we do not like to be moving to I don't know how many different schools, different towns.
The thing that makes it hard is when I have to switch homes, because one home, I'm thinking that I'm gonna stay here and then, everything is going just fine and stuff. And then the next minute, I have to move to a different home, and it makes my whole transition being very difficult and stuff, and I'll be so scared and everything. It's like I don't want to be here and I don't want to communicate with anybody. But then I have to look back and say, hey, things might work out for me.
When I first came here, I thought it was just going to be another foster home. I came in with the attitude that I wasn't going to last, and Mom and Dad helped me through that. Yep. They stuck with me.
They just opened their home up to me, and they opened their hearts up, even though, you know, I did some really bad stuff, you know, towards them. But they still, you know, still love me today, and they will always love me, so.
I didn't realize someone doesn't have to be my blood family to really just know that they're there for me and they're not gonna leave.
I used to hang out with the wrong crowd. I used to cuss all the time. But when I came to this foster home, they told me that, you know, your priorities needs to be higher than what they were at the time. They said, like, it's okay to have your standards higher than, you know, other people. You don't have to bring yourself down to their standards. So it really helped me to get better friends and make better choices.
I mean, I'm with a family that loves me, and we do stuff together. I mean, now I'm getting straight A's. That means I can get into the military a little bit easier. And they support me all the way.
I met my foster mom who showed me love unconditionally. And even though I act hard-headed sometimes and act a fool, but she still gave me love. She looked after me. She was my guardian angel. And she was a prayer come true.
We want to be able to feel secure somewhere. If you move them around all the time, then they're never going to feel like they have a home anywhere.
I want a permanent home, not just moving around place to place. And I like the foster home I'm in. I don't want to move. They're nice people.
I would love to have a permanent home. Like, it's not fun to think, to go from place to place and think that, will I be going back to that home or am I gonna go to another home? Like, it's kind of hard to know, like, to think that you're not gonna know where you're gonna be at today or tomorrow. It could be completely different. And so it's just hard.
It's kind of impossible at my age to really find someone to actually adopt and whatnot. And it kind of hurts. I wish there was just some magic answer that you could just, but there's not. And I just feel like I've had to grow up really fast. And a lot of the kids in my high school really don't understand a lot of the things that I go through. And it's really hard for them to actually put themselves in my shoes because I try to talk about just certain things like, well, I can't just go to your house. I have to fill out visit forms. I have to have all, like, background checks, everything. That very different from, I don't want to say real teenagers, but it's not, I don't feel like a teenager anymore. I feel kind of, you're different than the other kids at school who aren't in foster care.
I've never really respected any adult figures in my entire life, and since I got into foster care, I can actually have some respect and follow rules and things. I've gained a lot of respect for people that are foster parents because they have so much love in them. They're like angels. They're like guardian angels, you know. We need more people like foster parents, like good foster parents out there for people to, because there's a lot of kids like us that we just want a little bit of love, and anyone that can take in foster kids to their home, they're probably the best people I'll ever meet.
The first time that I was really in foster care for a long time was, I was probably in the summer of my 6th grade year. My mom, I thought, was doing really good. She owned her own business, you know, and I thought she was finally cleaning up, and it all turned out all wrong because, and then all of a sudden, like, my mother got caught with a meth lab in our garage, and me and my sister got taken away. We got sent to a group home first, so actually it was like a shelter home. And we were there for probably only a month, and we got placed together as a family because they wanted to place us together, and it took them a month, so we finally got placed in a home together, and things didn't work out for me, but it worked out for my sister. And she said that she didn't want me because I wasn't like her type of foster kid. Like, she liked my sister because my sister was more secluded and to herself, you know, and didn't like to do things. And I was the more energetic one that wanted to go out and do things. And she said I was too hard to keep track of. So I got sent to a different home. When actually, I'm kind of glad that I did get sent to a different home, because the next home I went to, I was more free to be myself. And I was encouraged to go out and do things instead of being hindered by them. And my mom during that time was trying to fight for us to come back or whatever, and I really didn't understand why, because of all the years, and I don't even know why we finally got to go back home, but in the beginning of my 8th grade year, we did finally get to come back home. And it's all really good. Like, the first time you come back home when the worker's in there, it was like perfect. Like, I couldn't remember anything. It felt so good to be home. And then all of a sudden when they left, things just went downhill so fast. And I remember my 9th grade being so horrible, and I remember getting very depressed. I really wasn't myself. I remember that I really did. I wanted to kill myself. And I did try one time. And then I actually threw up all the pills that I took. And I think it was after that moment where I realized that where I was at was not where I wanted to go. And I almost failed out my freshman year because of all the problems I had at home. And one day I got beat really bad by my mom, and I decided that I had had enough. And I was going to be the strong person, and I left my home out in the country, and I walked out to the highway and hitched a ride to the police station and got sent back with the same home I was in before. And because there, I felt like I was more in a family than I was at my own home. Because that to me, like, I missed that the whole time. And when I was back in that home, I wanted to be adopted. I did. And I was told, I was about 15 at that time. I had just turned 15, probably 15 and a half. I said I wanted to get adopted, and they told me I was too old to be adopted and that nobody would want me. And I said, and that's what I asked. I said, why can't I be adopted? They never even tried because they said I was too old, even though I wanted to. Actually, it felt like they were saying that I wasn't worth their time to become adopted. Like, they didn't want to go through the court and the paperwork or to terminate my mom's rights and to go through that for me, even though that I wanted it really bad. And they kept trying to reunify me with my mother, and I kept telling them, I don't want to be reunified. I left home because I don't want to be there. So after that, I think I just kind of gave up because so many were telling me, you know, that it won't happen for me. But I think I made a better of it because when I turned my whole high school around. After that, my freshman year, I had nothing but A's and B's until my senior year, and I had maybe a 1 point, I had horrible freshman year, but I ended up graduating with a 3.4 after my freshman year. And I participated in sports, and I was in different groups or whatever. It kept myself busy, and I think that's what really, and I was supported in doing it. Like, they were like, you should really think about doing that. You need to go do that. And what was important for me in that is that my foster parents actually went to like my track meets and watched me and cheered on for me. And it felt me like my parents never did that for me. And it was like, that for me was like something a parent do. Like when they were so proud of me, like when I get done running and I win a medal and they're like, I'm so proud of you. And the first time it happened for me, I cried. It was just wonderful. And that's what made me realize that she was my mom. I don't need to be adopted anymore to feel like that's my home. And I'm aged out now. I've been aged out for a year, and I go there for Christmas now, and I was there for Easter, you know, that's my home. I go there once a week, you know, and I have a son now, and my foster mom, you know, she's his grandma.
I came into foster care because my mom was 15 years old when she gave birth to me, and about several years later, she had my little brother. And she left me for days unnumbered to take care of my brother because she walked out and left us as a result of her addiction to heroin. I know my mom loved me very much because when I came into foster care, they say that I had a very large vocabulary, and you don't develop that on your own. It's obvious that my mother spent a lot of time with me in spite of her drug addiction. One of the things that was really sad, though, is that as a result of being in foster care, we moved around a lot. We were moved from home to home and rejected quite a bit. I still live a lot with that pain. The thought of moving from house to house and going through that, whenever I think of those times, I often think about the numbers of children who still go through that. I think about it because of how it affects me today in my relationships, in how I view and approach life, the passion that I bring to the things that matter most to me. I also remember the hope that I had for the many times that families came forward and there was interest expressed in possibly my brother and I getting adopted. And I remember the excitement that people expressed when they saw us and they thought that we were cute little boys while we were cute when we were 12 and 9 years old. And I remember the things that they would say about how we look like this relative or look like that relative, and how that would just give me so much encouragement and hope because I thought I might get my chance at a family. And I remember the disappointments when it didn't happen. I often wondered why. Why, when I was placed in a home, someone might send me back because maybe I wasn't the kind of kid that might tell the truth all the time, or I was a kid who stole things from time to time, or I would act out in different ways. And I felt bad because when I would get kicked out of a home, I would look at my little brother and realize that it was often my fault that we were being thrown out of a home. And those feelings again of moving from place to place and feeling a bit unsettled made it very hard for me to trust people. And so I guess as I went through my life growing up and then eventually having to be separated from my brother because we wanted to make sure he had the best chance of getting a family. And ultimately, fortunately, he did. My brother ultimately did get adopted, and it hurt him that we couldn't be adopted together. He's a grown man now, and he wonders, even as a grown man, why was he left? While he had the satisfaction of getting a home, he feels that he was left. So there was a price paid that we had to be separated, even though he had a family. I went through the rest of my life feeling as if I wasn't quite good enough, feeling that there was something really wrong with me because I never did get a family. And I know that there are hundreds of children out there, hundreds of thousands of children out there who beat themselves up because they really wonder why aren't they good enough to get a home. Something that every child deserves. It's a basic human right for children to have childhoods, to not have to worry and wonder, why don't they have family? Why don't they have a mom and a dad, or an aunt and an uncle? Some kind of security of family so that they can thrive and grow up to be the best kind of people that they can be. I struggled with that. I tried to dig deep within so that in spite of it, I can be the best person that I could be. And so ultimately, I was determined to prove people wrong. I wanted to make sure that I would be in a position one day to care for my brother if something happened to him, and to care for my other siblings that came along afterwards. So ultimately, I did do that. I went on and I graduated from high school in spite of all the moves, and that resulted in me having to go to 6 different high schools. And I graduated on time as my class valedictorian. I went on to college and I got a degree in Health and Human Services, and then I went on and received another degree in Healthcare Management and another graduate degree in Management, and had a successful career in the Navy, and went on and just other great jobs, and became an advocate for children, although that was never my intention, but found that I really needed to do that because I wanted people to understand the pain and to understand the possibilities at the same time that all of the children who are waiting have. And I often wonder now that although I never did get that family, that when people look at me and they see that I actually became the director of a major foundation, that I was the chief of staff in the mayor's office in Washington, D.C., and that now that I run a major advocacy organization, I actually wonder, who wouldn't want to call me son now? Who wouldn't be proud of having me as a part of their family? And how many children out there would say the same?
I was feeling really scared because I didn't know where I was and I don't know what was happening or whatever. And because these people just came to my house and just took me, it was like at night when they took me to this house, and I felt really scared because these were the strangers I was living with, and I had no idea what was going on.
My mom had fallen. She started doing drugs and alcohol, and she'd pull us out of school and go to our biological dad's house and just do drugs and stuff and not even care about what we were seeing and stuff, because she'd do it right in front of us.
Living in the group home, I felt like I wasn't respected, and I was always mad and angry. My former family put me in the group home, and I thought they didn't love me anymore. It's my fault that I'm in the group home and that I'm not worth anything.
Switched homes, like more than 8 homes, just about. And then I was getting in a lot of trouble because, well, I was confused and stuff like that.
Well, it's kind of hard because nobody really likes to move from another person's house that you're just starting to get to know. And then you move out, then you gotta get to know somebody all over again.
Like nobody wanted me. Like people will give up. Like if I do one little thing wrong, they'll just send me away to somebody else.
I was like, is this the last home I'm going to? And I go to like 3 more homes.
Every teenager in foster care always think, oh, we're never going to get adopted. We're going to stay in foster care until we're 18, because nobody wants teenagers. They want little babies to let them grow up in their home. So we always thought, what's the use of even trying to get adopted?
Because once you get bounced down so many times, you finally give up and say it's not going to happen.
Well, nobody ever talked to me about being adopted, but I saw people leaving and saying that they were going to get adopted and stuff like that. So once they said that, I was wondering in my head, how would it be like to be adopted? Once I heard that I was starting to have weekend visits,